Actually, Rahul Shah is also with us. Rahul, as Nayantara put it, the concern around the market continues to be around around that basket of shares with regards to, of course, pledged shares, encumbrances, as we're now calling it, and the fact that the SEBI board is going to be addressing this going forward. Just talk to us about how much of a concern you see this as, whether it's the RBI, whether it's SEBI, all agencies are currently obviously looking at ways to curtail this issue.
Hi, good afternoon. I think what we've been seeing since last 1 year, if you look at exactly when the first NBFC crisis just started, and I think post that we've been seeing a series of events happening. First, obviously being on an NBFC front, and secondly, what we saw in terms of a lot of corporates facing liquidity issue, and then obviously now the corporate governance also for a few corporates. So my sense is that I think both RBI and SEBI or any other agencies are working. They have been taking measures to get it resolved and all these things. So I think difficult to comment on all these things right now. But I think whatever the steps they have taken, I think which is welcome, and I think it is good for the investor for a longer term perspective.
Okay, Rahul, just getting right back then to the equity markets, and wanted to get in your take as to what exactly the outlook is when it comes to the liquidity situation. Do you sense that we could see some sort of a return of FIIs pumping money in? That could particularly be on account of the way the dollar is faring, as well as some of the tensions that are going on across the globe?
I think what we've seen in last couple of months, and I think what we've been, and the markets are way ahead of times, I think. So I don't think any of the terms of the crisis what we are seeing, maybe particularly what we've been talking about in NBFC front. So actually it has not happened till now. If you look at it, it is any major event has not, a proactive measures have already been taken. So I feel maybe the stocks might not perform in the NBFC perspective, but I think that fear of the crisis getting deepened, I think I don't think so. Will get deepened more from current levels, which it looks like. So number two, looking at the market scenario, I think I think the more major concerns are for the markets are domestic and maybe something like that. I think what I've been looking at is, I think obviously the monsoon, which is a major concern what we've been looking at. So and obviously IMD has also lowered the expectations. So if that happens to be good, I think then the thing should roll out properly. And secondly, all eyes are on the earnings, Q1 earnings, which will start probably from next 10 days or so from and obviously budget. So all these 2-3 events which are lined up, which are of more of concern and near term in nature.
Fair point. So on that subject, Rahul, afternoon firstly, what is it that you're expecting as a house on what the budget can or cannot do? Because it seems that at least on the fisc front, the elbow room is pretty narrow. And now that most taxes are also under the ambit of the GST Council, not much can be done.
I think importantly, if you notice, I think the most important thing to drive growth or to drive sustained things into back into picture is not just a fiscal stimulation or fiscal implementation. It's more about that's near term in nature, and that sentiment. I think more about it spending on the real economy. So I think infrastructure spending getting back into the play would be the major thrust what one should expect, rather than any other tax stops or something from the government perspective. So I feel that if the spending comes from the government side on the economy front, then I think things should back into the place. So I think this is the only biggest thing what anyone should look at in terms of budget.
Okay. Would like to get in your thoughts, Rahul, on this issue as well, on Glenmark. Any thoughts?
So closely, so I will not able to comment on that.
Okay. Any views on the pharma space as a whole?
I think we've been seeing the turbulence time in the entire pharma space. All large cap stocks we've seen, have fallen consistently, and I think looks like that in the short term this pain might still continue. So my sense is the guys with a domestic exposure or a domestic operations, I think that's the best play to continue to hold for some more time. So I think pharma, if you look at the large cap space, I think Sun, if you look at Cipla, or if you look at Aurobindo, or you look at Lupin, all of them have corrected quite substantially. So my sense is I think it's a good long-term story with the investor with an appetite for 2 years and above should look at all the stocks, or else I would advise to stick into the companies with guys with a domestic operations more.
Rahul, to your mind, how long is this auto slowdown going to continue? And within that, do you now at least see some buying opportunities coming in? Or would you wait for a consistent print to actually improve?
I think the slowdown overall, I think in pharma space, if you ask me, is going to be last for some more time. That's what it looks like. So I think near term, it's not in near term in nature that in next 1 quarter or two where we will see the earnings revival. So I think the stocks are reasonably valued, and I think for the investor with an appetite for longer horizon, only one should look at. So in near term, I don't think so there should be any revision or maybe some upside in the stocks.
Let's get your view also. I know we were just talking about auto, but in the context of all these new developments, particularly on the two-wheeler front, and we've also got a whole spate of recent downgrades as well, continuing cautiousness with regards to any kind of outlook to do with that pocket of the market. What would be your sense in terms of whether or not we will start to see a turnaround, or whether one should perhaps be a little bit cautious?
I feel if you look at initially we thought that sell-off in... Hello?
Rahul, please carry on.
Hello? Yeah. I think initially what we thought about is that when we saw sell-off in auto space, I think majorly it was we thought about it's an NBFC crisis which has just started, and because of the lending has an issue, and we saw some slowdown. But I think if we go to a ground level, I think it is much more deeper, and actually there's a slowdown in entire economy what we've been seeing now. So my sense is I think near term the risk remains high. So a lot of auto if you look at the channel, when we do the channel checks, we speak to a lot of dealers and also where their commentary also has been very, very muted, and which itself indicates in the stock prices. So my sense is still some maybe I would wait for 1 quarter or so, and maybe we'll see some earning revival and a good monsoon, then only one should look at. And still somebody wants to play auto, I think passenger vehicles makes the best choice rather than two-wheelers as of now.
Okay, Rahul, great to have you on the show. Thanks much for taking the time out and speaking with us today.
My pleasure.